Hello and welcome to Narayana IS. I am Pratik, your faculty for Daily News Analysis. Students, in today's DNA session, we'll be discussing four most important topics from the Hindu and the Indian Express. Before we start with the DNA topics, let us go through a motivational quote so that you are motivated enough to complete the entire session and finally, ultimately, conquer the examination, clear the examination. So what is today's motivational quote? Ability is what you are capable of doing. So you need to have the ability to, clear the examination. Then motivation determines what you do. So motivation is determining what you're gonna do. And then the most important word, that is the attitude, determines how well you do it. That's the reason the successful people always emphasize the word attitude. That is, having the right attitude is essential to achieve amazing things in life, right? So now again, prelims is approaching, right? The months will just go by, will fly by, and if you're really serious about clearing the prelims examination, then Narayana IS has come up with a 110 days study time planner for UPSC prelims 2025. So all those students who want to follow the planning can download the application, right? Can download the application, and once you download the application, you can see the 110 days planner. Please go through it and try to see if you can match the day-to-day timetable. If you follow this 110 days timetable, I'm pretty sure that by the or before the examination, you'll be thorough with the prelims preparation, and clearing the prelims examination will become very easy, right? So please download the application and please go through the planner and try to implement the planner. And then again, for all those students who want to start the UPSC preparation, Narayana is coming up with a 1 year and 2 year integrated course. So I want you to please scan the QR code that is visible on your screen, right? The scanner will take you to the page where you can register, fill in the details, and then our team will get back to you with the required necessary information, right? So this is the detailed strategy of the 1 year and 2 year integrated course, right? Now, let us start with the four topics that we are going to discuss as part of today's DNA. The first article is taken from the Hindu, page number 8. This talks about how India can act as a bridge, serve as a bridge between the global north and the global south. Now, we'll understand what exactly global north represents and global south represents, and how India can act as a bridge between the two. The second article is taken from Indian Express, page number 16. Jan 2025 was warmest ever. Why La Nina did not bring down temperatures? So we'll understand the difference between La Nina and El Nino. Questions have been asked. So we'll discuss the concepts of La Nina and El Nina. The third article is taken from Hindu Science, page number 2. Cross blood transplant performed on a patient with Bombay blood group. So what exactly is Bombay blood group is something that we will understand in the third topic. The fourth topic, extending the last nuclear arms pact with US doubtful, says Russia. So we'll discuss the arms pact, the nuclear arms pact signed between US and Russia, the two major powers in the world. So these are the four topics that we shall be discussing as part of today's DNA. Make sure you have pen and paper with you to take down the notes. Of course, you'll be getting the DNA notes on the website in the comment section, but still always have the habit of writing down the notes so that you are in sync with what the presenter, with the teacher, is explaining, right? So on this note, let us start with the first topic. The first topic, India as a bridge between the global north and the global south. So as I told you, we'll understand the difference between global north and global south, and how India can act as a bridge between north and the south. So this topic pertains to International Relations under JS paper 2. Now this was a question asked in the year 2017. The growing significance of India in the global arena has been accompanied by the need for a balanced approach in its foreign policy, critically analyzed. So you can see that this talks about how India, right, the significance of India is accompanied by the need for a balanced approach, right? How India can act as a bridge between North and the South. That is how India can, negotiate, deal, talk with both North and South and have a balanced approach in its foreign policy. So, what is the context? India has positioned itself as the key voice of the global South. So, India is voicing the concerns of the global South. At the same time, India is strengthening ties with the global North. So, our Prime Minister Mr. Modi in his 2025 Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, he emphasized India's role, how India as a country and India's role in strengthening the concerns of the global South, voicing the concerns of the global South, right? So, India's effort at the third Voice of Global South Summit, it highlights the aspirations for a reformed and more inclusive global governance, which means there is a need to reform the global governance and ensure that the global governance is including every section of the society, every country from every continent, ensuring that no section is left behind the development. This is the context. First and foremost, let us understand what exactly global North and South stands for. See, global North and global South, it stands or it represents the disparity, difference between the developed and the developing countries. Developed and the developing countries. Right? The social development, the social difference, the political difference, the economic difference between the developed and the developing countries. Now, global North is referred to the countries which are developed. Which are the developed countries? Again, we all know America, Japan, France, Germany, South Korea, Australia. These are referred to as developed countries. And then we have the global South. It refers to countries in Asian continent, in African continent, the entire Asia, the entire Africa. It's a poor country, right? It's a mix of poor as well as developing countries. And then we have Latin America. Now, Latin America, this refers to countries south of Mexico. So, Mexico geography is located in North America, but culturally it shares similarities with the Latin American countries. So, Mexico plus Central America plus South America. Mexico plus Central America, Panama plus South America, Brazil, Argentina, UK, Bolivia. So Africa, Asia and Latin America. So here you have the North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa. So this 1, 2 and then this part Asia. Understood the difference between North and South? Good. Now key features of this divide. 1. The global North, developed countries, it controls 80% of the global GDP. Of all the wealth that is generated, 80% the developed countries have a hold. The global South face high debt burden, Pakistan, high debt, limited industrialization, right? And the North dominates artificial intelligence, space, digital innovation, while the South relies on technology transfer. For example, India relies on the technology transfer from USA, from South Korea, from then Singapore, all the developing countries, or for that matter the poor countries. Trade imbalance, developing nations struggle with export barriers, then tariffs and dependence on raw. Now India is a country that is dependent on raw materials, the chips that we use in the electronic items. We are dependent on this raw material. Export barriers, it's not competitive enough to compete with the outside world. Climate change equality. Now, of all the emissions emitted by the world, the global south has emitted only 25%, and the rest, the global north, the developed countries have emitted more carbon emissions. But who is facing the most problems? Who is facing the majority of the? It is the global south that is facing majority of the problems, but suffers the most. That's the reason in the Paris Climate Agreement, the developed countries had committed to help the developing countries with a fund of $100 billion. But again, not like countries like America. They are refraining from contributing to the fund, and this is actually stopping the developing countries or poor countries from adopting clean energy sources. I hope you understood the difference between north and south. Now, let us try to understand India's evolving role. See, India was a leader in the NAM. What is NAM? NAM stands for Non-Alignment Movement. Now, in the Cold War phase, that is between 1945 to 1991, this phase represents the Cold War phase. This phase saw the rivalry between USA versus USSR. USSR is the former name of Russia, and USSR, Russia plus other countries like the Central Asian countries, right? And also the Eastern European countries were part of USSR. So USSR comprised of Russia plus countries like, let's say, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Central Asian republics, then Eastern countries, Eastern European countries, Ukraine was part of USSR. So there's a rivalry between USA versus USSR. Either you side with this country, if you are supporting this, you are against this. If you are supporting this, you are against this. India said, we are not going to be a part of any bloc. We will remain independent and neutral. Non-alignment movement. We won't be part of any bloc. We will talk to both the countries, both the blocks, USA bloc as well as USSR bloc. As per our needs, we will decide with which bloc we have to talk. But this was a very sort of ideal decision. As the global realities hit us, the war with China, the threat from Pakistan, 65 war with Pakistan, 62 war with China, the 1971 war, India realized that we need the support of USA or USSR to handle or to fight against China as well as Pakistan. That's the reason we sort of started getting close to USSR. So USSR helped India in the 1971 war, right? So our position evolved from ideological neutrality, NAM, to strategic multi-alignment. Now we started dealing with all the countries. It does not mean that when India was going close to USSR, India was not talking to USA. No, India was also talking with USA, or rather dealing with USA, or for that matter, the developed countries like France, Germany, etc. So we engage with both global north, developed, as well as global south. We traded with this trade, defense, and geopolitical interest. So engagement with the global south. We'll discuss how India engaged with the global south and global north as well. South-South cooperation through the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation Program. So this is a program that India had launched. India trained 2 lakh professionals from 160 plus countries. South, which means developing countries plus poor countries, or rather failed countries. So India trained this many people. Then India-Africa engagement, this forum summit has extended over billions. So India has supported many countries in the African continent by by ways of fund, that is financial assistance. Then we also provided them the technology. Then multilateral advocacy. India plays a key role in the African Union's G20 membership. So it was India who made Africa a part of the G20 summit. So again, African Union was represented in the G20 summit. So this is how India is engaging with the global south, especially the countries in the Asian continent. For example, we have neighboring countries, Nepal, then we have Bhutan, then we have Sri Lanka, right? So these are the countries, or for that matter, the countries in Middle East, the Central Asian countries. So India, time and again, like Maldives, the ocean countries. So India time and again has been helping these countries, be it financially, be it technologically, be it financial aid, right? So this is how India has been helping these countries along with the support to the African countries. Then strengthening ties with the global north. For example, India EU trade crossed 120 billion in 2023, while India US 191 billion. So be it USA, France, Germany, South Korea, our engagement, right, parallelly, it evolved with the developed countries as well. So India was engaging with both southern, or for that matter, the developing countries or failed countries, as well as the developed countries. So India is a part of initiative on critical and emerging technologies with the US. So for example, India is one of the major defense partners of the US. Today, of all the developed countries, India is close to US, right? So this century talks highly about the India-US cooperation. So be it trade, defense, agriculture, technology, space, name any sector, you see the cooperation between India and USA. Not only India and USA, but also India and countries like UK, France, Germany, South Korea, Japan. India led the formation of International Solar Alliance, which talks about harnessing the solar energy, that is renewable source of energy, and reducing dependence on the fossil fuels. Then we also talk about the Global Biofuels Alliance 2023. Uh, Now India's role is instrumental in this Global Biofuel Alliance. What is biofuel? Now biofuel is a type of fuel that is produced by or through the organic, that is the waste from the plants and the animals. It's a fuel. It's a renewable source of fuel, which means here you are reducing dependence on the fossil fuels like coal. Ethanol is an example of biofuel, right? Now let us try to understand how India is acting or serving as a bridge between the north and the south. First, digital and financial inclusion. India's UPS system. We know that how India's UPS system, be it Paytm, Google Pay, Phone Pay, has revolutionized the digital payment in our country. How paying money or receiving money has become such an easy task. People who are uneducated, people across all strata are using UPS system. Uh, this is how paying money or UPS system has uh, made the lives of people so easy. Then we have the so India's UPS system is also being followed. Like for example, the global south countries have or are adopting the UPS system as well. For example, France, Nepal, Singapore. France again is a developed country. France is learning from us. And then we have the RuPay system. RuPay system, we know that RuPay card. Now RuPay card, for example, Sri Lanka is using RuPay card. UAE, United Arab Emirates, is also using RuPay card. The card that India sort of, it was the global card system, right? Then we have sustainable development and climate action. The mission life, that is lifestyle for environment initiative. Now this initiative promotes sustainable consumption. This initiative advocates or pushes people to focus on sustainable measures, that is, to reduce the waste, to reduce plastic, to use public transportation. Then we have International Solar Alliance. We discussed what is ISA. Then Green Hydrogen Mission. Now, India through this mission tries to be a hub in green hydrogen. This why? So as to make the development sustainable, to reduce the carbon emissions and contribute to the well-being of the society. How? By reducing the emission, contributing to the climate change. Then health and vaccine diplomacy. India's vaccine maitri. We know that how India's vaccine that we developed during the COVID times was distributed widely among the global south countries as well as in the developed countries. So here you see through this India is acting as a bridge between north and the south. Then we have trade and infrastructure development. India's Asia-Africa growth corridor. Now this corridor tries to bring countries from Asia and Africa. It tries to focus on infrastructure projects so as to facilitate trade and thus bring development. Now this is posing challenge or rather alternative to China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is highly dominated by China. The Belt and Road Initiative is a infrastructure initiative that connects China with European countries through road and then through maritime route as well. Challenges to India's positioning. Now, which are the challenges? First, China's Belt and Road investments. Now, India is no match to the investments China is making in the Belt and Road Initiative. The initiative that has brought together so many countries to boost the infrastructure, economic growth, foster economic growth, right? And then reduce dependency on the developed countries. Resource constraints. India's funding capacity is limited. There is no match to the Western countries or for that matter China's funding. So this is another challenge that we are facing. We do not have resources, we do not have money. Perception issue. Now India's first, like we say American first, in India we say Indian first. Now this perception of India first, it suggests that the focus is on India, or rather this is seen as self-serving. The other countries are perceiving that the initiatives launched by India is serving India than the other countries. So this perception has to be changed. And then institutional limitations. So India's presence in the institutions is again limited because of the resources, right? So India needs stronger policy frameworks and agencies for structured global development, right? Then way forward. What is the way forward? Strengthening institutional mechanism, establishing dedicated international development agency. An agency or a global agency which is inclusive, which is balanced, which is neutral, which is not siding any developed or developing country, right? So this dedicated international development fund or agency will cater to the needs of the global south. One. Second, sustainable development partnership. Now we have discussed ISA and green, so we have to focus on such initiatives. Third, human resource development, enhancing skill building initiatives. So the global south can only grow when they focus on technology, education. Through education, skills can be imparted. So again, focus on education, focus on skill building, focus on technology is very, very important for the global south to grow and develop. Then trilateral and multilateral diplomacy. So here we have to engage with the developed as well as the developing countries. For example, EU. EU, again here we see it's developed, ASEAN, and then so here the focus has to be on trilateral and multilateral engagement. We have to bring the developed and developing countries together. We have to work together. There has to be cooperation, and India can act as a bridge, as a link which can bind these, or rather get these countries together for the global good. Enhanced financial role. India must pushed for fairer economic policies. Now, International Monetary Fund and World Bank, these are the international institutions meant for, meant or they shape the governance in the developing countries. How? Through financial assistance. So here we have to ensure that these institutions, they adopt neutral stance so as to benefit both the developed as well as developing countries. This is how we can move ahead. I hope you understood the first article or other, the first topic, right? Second topic. Jan 2025 was warmest ever. Why La Nina did not bring down temperatures is the question. So you'll understand what is El Nino, La Nina, right? And this you can map with GS paper 1. So there's a question on La Nina and El Nino. So questions have been asked on these concepts. So let us understand what these concepts are. First and foremost, what is the context? Context is that Jan 2025 was the hottest January on record with global average surface area temperature which was 1.75% above the pre-industrial level. Pre-industrial, that is this period, 1850 to 1900. Now the temperature in the or during the pre-industrial phase was 14 degrees Celsius, close to 14 degrees Celsius, which means compared to pre-industrial level, the global surface temperature has risen by 1.75, that is 15.75 degree Celsius. Now scientists had expected that this phenomenon of La Nina will cool down the temperature. Unfortunately, the La Nina phenomena did not set in, did not kick in. So let us understand first the concepts of El Nino and La Nina, which is referred to as the El Nino Southern Oscillation ENSO. So now ENSO, El Nino Southern Oscillation is a natural climate pattern. What it is? A natural climate pattern that affects the weather around the world, which means this phenomena, ENSO, it affects the weather phenomena not only in a particular region but the entire world. Why? It happens because of the changes in the temperature of the ocean surface, because of the temperature of the ocean surface and the winds in the Pacific Ocean, Why? Because of the temperature at the surface of the ocean and the winds in the Pacific Ocean. Please connect ENSO with Pacific Ocean. I hope you know where is Pacific Ocean. If you don't, please uh, please open your Atlas book to understand the Pacific Ocean. Then ENSO has three phases. First is the El Nino. Now it occurs when the surface water temperature in the Eastern Pacific, which means the South America, right, becomes warmer than usual. So the coastal places, right, the coastal place in South America, it is getting warmer, especially the western coast of South America. The western coast of South America is getting warmer. This can cause droughts in some places. Which places? Which are far away from South America, like Australia, and heavy rainfall in areas like the western coast of South America, which I just referred to. It can also change weather patterns globally. So ENSO, good for the western coast of South America and bad for other regions such as Australia. Next, La Nina, it occurs when the surface water temperature in eastern Pacific becomes cooler. El Nino, it becomes warmer. La Nina, it becomes cooler. It can cause strong rains in places like Southeast Asia, right? Drier conditions like the southwestern United States. Neutral, so we understood what is El Nino, La Nina. El Nino, La Nina, completely opposite. Neutral, the water temperature in the Pacific Ocean stays close to normal. This is close to normal, not too warm or too cool, right? Oceans are close to average with no significant warming or cooling. So, please remember this point. The ENSO is a way to describe how changes in Pacific Ocean's temperature can affect global weather. ENSO, how the weather in the Pacific affects the global temperature, global weather, like bringing storms, droughts, or unusual rain. So please refer, please understand, or please make sure that you understand this sentence. How changes in the Pacific Ocean affects the global weather. All these points are very, very important for your prelims. In prelims, they'll ask you statements on El Nino, La Nina. So I hope you should be prepared to attempt such type of questions. So here you can see the La Nina and El Nino. Now, let's again understand the difference between El Nino. El Nino means little boy or Christ child in Spanish. La Nina means little girl in Spanish. So again, this is Spanish term, right? Sea surface temperature above average sea surface temperature across the eastern central equatorial Pacific. So again, there's nothing much to explain over here. If you understood the concept of El Nino and La Nina, which I have explained in the previous slide, you should be in a position to understand the difference. So please go through this, right? You have the DNA notes in the comment section. Please download the DNA and read this difference. In case you come across any difference, I request you to please ask in the comment section, right? Now, why did La Nina did not cool temperature? One, because the current La Nina cycle is weak, meaning its cooling effect is less significant. La Nina developed later than expected. So, there's delay in the development of La Nina. Second, high greenhouse gas. So, the atmospheric carbon levels remain extremely high in 2024 and Jan 2025. So, we know, increased greenhouse gases, they trap the heat. They trap the heat, reducing the La Nina's usual cooling effect. So, high greenhouse gases is causing a problem. Third, reduced aerosol. Now, aerosols are nothing but they are tiny particles in the atmosphere, right? They actually scatter the solar radiation back into the space. They scatter the solar radiation back into the space. Now, many countries have come up with clean air policies, which essentially means to reduce the carbon emissions. Now, the clean air policies, it results in less emission of aerosols. Now, if there are no aerosols, then how can the aerosols scatter the solar radiation, which means the earth is absorbing more and more heat. So, clean energy policies is unintentionally causing problem with respect to absorption of heat from the earth, right? So, these are few reasons. Let us understand the third topic. Extending the last nuclear arms pact with USA, doubtful, says Putin. So we'll understand about this strategic arms reduction treaty. Strategic arms reduction treaty. This part of prelims, right? And again, this is part of international relations, right? So question was asked on the US-Iran nuclear pact controversy. So question can also be asked on US-Russia nuclear pact. Okay. Now, Russia says, or Russia is doubtful of extending the treaty with America. Given the tensions between America and Russia, Russia is doubtful of extending which treaty? The START treaty. This treaty. So, what exactly is this treaty? Let us understand. See, the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, START treaty, was a series of bilateral nuclear arms control between US and Russia to reduce and limit strategic nuclear weapons. The purpose of START treaty was to reduce the production of nuclear or development of nuclear weapons, or rather nuclear warheads, which means both the countries through this START treaty committed that they won't proliferate or increase the nuclear warheads. The purpose was to ensure global stability. Else, if there is no such treaty, USA, or rather, or for that matter Russia, they will focus on increasing the nuclear warheads. So if Russia is increasing, America will increase. If America is increasing, Russia will increase. So there will be arms race. More and more development of nuclear weapons, which means there is risk of nuclear war. There is risk of nuclear war, which can be catastrophic. That's the reason both the countries showed some maturity. They rarely show maturity, but showed some maturity over here and signed the START treaty. Now, there are three phases of the START treaty. The first one was signed in the 1991 between, now this is not important, limitations 6,000 nuclear warheads per country. Now, nuclear warheads is that part of the weapon which is or which causes nuclear reaction. So, nuclear warheads is that part of the weapon that causes nuclear reaction, that is explosion. 1,600 delivery systems, which means both the countries will have 1,600 platforms through which they can launch nuclear weapons. So, ICBM is integrated ballistic missile, intercontinental ballistic missile, that is, these are the missiles that can cross continents. Then we have the submarine ballistic missiles. So, these missiles can carry the nuclear warheads. So, both the countries cannot exceed more than 1,600 platforms. Then it established on-site inspections, which means the world body like the International Atomic Energy Agency can inspect the sites of both the countries at any given point of time. It entered into force in 1994, expired in the year 2009. First treaty, please remember this treaty. The second is signed in the year 1993. Objective, this is not important, banned multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles on ICBMs. Intercontinental ballistic missiles have the capacity to have more than one or multiple nuclear warheads. So, intercontinental ballistic missiles have the capacity to carry more than one nuclear warheads, multiple nuclear warheads. So, this treaty says that this missile cannot carry multiple nuclear warheads. No, it never entered into force. So, this treaty start to never enter into force. Russia withdrew in the year 2002. Now, this again, this was SALT treaty, which is also referred as Moscow treaty, was signed in the year 2002. Now, this actually lacked strict verification mechanism. That's the reason this was replaced by the New START treaty in the year 2010. Now, what is this New START treaty of 2010? Again, it's a bilateral nuclear arms control between USA and Russia, signed in the year 2010. It and in force since 2011. So, this treaty is still in force since the year 2011. Key provisions, we already have discussed this part. Just remember that this is expected to expire in the year 2021, set to expire, but it is extended to Feb 2026. right? I hope you understood the START treaty and the objective of the START treaty. The next question, let us understand this cross blood transplant performed on a patient with Bombay blood group. Now this is a bit technical in nature, right? So you need to have the basics of science covered. So we'll understand what is this Bombay blood group in this particular article. So question was asked on the blood group in the year 2011. So questions have been asked on the basic science part as well. So in the year 2024, the doctors from Chennai, right, they performed successful cross blood kidney transplant. Cross blood group, which means the blood group not matching on a 30-year-old male. And this patient had extremely rare Bombay blood group, right? So we'll understand about the concept of blood group. Now, blood groups are classified on the presence or absence of specific antigens. The A blood group, B blood group, AB. I hope you must have heard of this blood groups, right? So they are based on the absence or presence of antigens. Antigens, they are nothing but they are a special protein on the red blood cells. Now these antigens help determine your blood type. So what determines your blood type? It is the antigens. And what is antigen? Antigens are tiny proteins or markers found on the surface of cells like the RBC. So they are available on the surface of the RBC. Now they help your immune system. The safeguard mechanism recognize what belongs in your body and what doesn't. It's a watchman. It decides what element is part of your body and what is not. It's a part of your immune system. So ABO blood group system is the most well-known classification. Of all the classification, ABO is the most commonly used classification type. There are many classification types. One is ABO, which is the most common. It has 4 primary types. One, this blood group has A antigen. What is antigen? A special protein on the RBC. And anti-A antibodies. What are antibodies? They are proteins made by your immune system. Now, this is something that your immune system produces. Why? To fight off harmful things like bacteria or virus. So, when the harmful bacteria and virus enter your body, the antibodies that your immune system generates, they fight against the bacteria and the viruses. They act like guards that identify and attack foreign enemy. That's the reason you need to have strong immune system so that the harmful bacteria and virus can be fought against strongly. Blood group B has B antigen, anti-A antibodies, anti-B antibodies. AB, it has A and B antigens, no antibodies. O, no A or B, both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. Please remember this. This is something very, very important for your prelims. If a question has to be asked, the question will be asked from this part. I hope you'll remember the classification of blood group and the difference between antigen and antibodies. Now, the rhesus factor further classifies blood into A positive, A negative, I hope you must have heard, into positive or negative. But the Bombay blood group is an exception to this system as it doesn't fit into the standard ABO system. So what is this Bombay blood group? It was discovered in 1952 in Bombay, also known as the phenotype or OH phenotype. Unlike individuals with this blood lack H antigen, which is a precursor. So please remember this point when it comes to Bombay blood group, that it lacks the H antigen. Due to the absence of H antigen, their blood is incompatible with, which means their blood is not compatible with the other blood groups like A, B, O, AB. So please remember these 2 points. And prevalence, so these are some numbers of Bombay blood group. So please read, this is factual. I hope you understood what is Bombay blood group. Now students, it's time to discuss few questions. First, India's aspiration to become a bridge between North and South is a reflection of its evolving foreign policy. Critically analyze India's role in this regard and suggest measures. So first, in the introduction, highlight what is India's or what is global North and global South and the recent summit where India voiced concerns of the global South. Then in the body of the answer, start by highlighting how India has acted as a bridge between the North and the South. This is the point that you need to highlight. Then once you highlight how India is acting as a bridge, starting from non-alignment to engagement with both North and the South, then highlight the challenges. Which are the challenges? China's Belt and Road Initiative. Then highlight the steps taken by India, the International Solar Alliance, Green Hydrogen Project, right? So highlight the initial. Then finally highlight the way forward. So in the conclusion, you can highlight the way forward. This is how you frame the answer for this particular question. The detail is mentioned in the daily notes. Now these are the DNA questions asked from yesterday's topic. Article 371 provides special provisions to the state of Mizoram. No. Article 371 provides special provisions for the states of Nagaland, Manipur, Assam and Meghalaya. So Mizoram incorrect. It pertains to the state of Manipur and grants autonomy to its areas. True. Article provides special provisions for certain tribal areas in yes. This also is correct. So 2 and 3, option B is the correct answer for question number 2. Next, under the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damage Act, the operators and suppliers can be held liable for nuclear accidents caused by faulty equipment. So yes, this one is correct. Next, the Atomic Energy Act 62 grants monopoly or nuclear energy production to the private. No, it grants monopoly to the government companies. So this one is incorrect. The International Convention for Supplementary Compensation for Nuclear Damage holds only the operators liable for, yes, this one is also correct. So 1 and 3, option E is the correct answer for question number 3. The union budget prioritizes capital intensive projects in urban development and railways, but faces challenges. Why? Because of underutilization of funds, which means we have funds, but because of bureaucratic delays, administrative delays, delay in the projection or project execution, right, it is getting affected. And declining financial support for local bodies like the panchayats and the municipalities. So this is the correct answer. And then these are the DNA questions from today's topics 1, 2, 3. So I request you to please go through these topics, open the link DNA quiz, attempt the questions and please post your score in the comment section. I want to see how much you score. So on this note, we end today's DNA session. I hope you understood all the topics from today's DNA session. Any topics that you have not understood, I request you to please ask in the comment section. Right? So before you end the video, I request you to please hit the like, share and the subscribe icon. Thank you so much.